What's up, DCM fans? I'm bringing you another Sram's Duel Commander match here on Duelcaster My opponent is playing Gitrog Monster, the Git Father himself. Really powerful deck, super charged up too with the unbanning of Fast Bond and Ancient Tomb lately. So we'll see how a mono white deck, see if it can out card advantage Black Green Gitrog. Here, my opponent starts with a Hickory Woodlot, the depletion land that can tap for 2 mana, so that's pretty scary start there. But I have a Wasteland in my hand, so I figure I have a good shot at mana destroying him if I can get the other land he plays after Hickory Woodlot. He Green Sun Zeniths for a Lotus Cobra, which is one of the best cards in the Gitrog deck, whereas I have Mother of Runes, which is also very good. But I could play my general, but I decided to go through with my original plan, which is to Wasteland. You can see there, Cabal Pit is his other land. Also gets rid of that in case it matters, because Cabal Pit being colorless means it can go even through Mother of Runes. I Steel Shaper's Gift for Lumizawa's Jite there. My opponent adds two green to his pool and then plays Thespian Stage and a Splendid Reclamation. Splendid. So even though he lost 2 lands, 1 to my Wasteland and 1 to his own Woodlot, he gets them both back and 2 more triggers off Lotus Cobra. So he has, despite having 2 of his lands nuked, he has all this mana in play still. He regrowths the Splendid Reclamation with the 2 he got off Lotus Cobra. On my turn, I draw a Pierced Paladin, but I don't have double white, so I play Sram, pass the turn. But Pierced Paladin itself is amazing, probably the best card in the deck, because it's a redundant copy of Sram as far as drawing cards, and the ability is just bananas. Free equips is super powerful. My opponent plays a Tireless Tracker, all-star in these Gitrog Titania decks, and does not have another land, though, to follow it up, luckily for me. I draw Flickering Ward, which is a really nice combo with Sram. You can keep flickering it back and forth to your hand, and it also gives protection from a color. You can switch the colors, obviously, by flickering it. I have a lot of options here. I do not have a land, unfortunately, so I'm hoping to draw one by cantripping one of my auras. I decided to play Flickering Ward on Sram because it gives an extra layer of protection beyond just Mother of Runes. I named black. Even though he has 2 green creatures, I'm more worried about a black removal spell. So I draw into Nurok Hover Sail, but I end up playing Flare Husk first, just because it's a body. You can jump, it can block Lotus Cobra if I need to, and I'm not equipping any of these anytime soon. I play Nurok Hover Sail as well, as flying could be relevant against low to the ground black-green deck, like Gitrog Monster. Then I draw Hushwing Gryff. My opponent plays Crystal Vein, which is a really explosive land, worth 3 mana here, as he has Lotus Cobra plus the ability to sacrifice the Vein itself for 2 more. He flashes me a Titania, so I'm a little worried about that, but he ends up playing his Splendid Reclamation again instead, getting multiple triggers off Lotus Cobra and Tireless Tracker. So he has more clues than he knows what to do with at this point. But then he plays the Git Father instead, and a Bird's Paradise. So he's got a very fearsome board. I'm rapidly getting to the point where I have to do something equally broken to combat this madness. And luckily, I have Pierced Paladin, which is one of the most broken cards in the modern era, I would say. So my options here are just to play out some equipment, but the most efficient way to do that is to play the Paladin first, because he allows me to, he draws an extra card for one thing, and then he allows me to equip for free. Luckily, I draw into a 0-cost equipment, Spider Silk Net, to draw 2 more cards, which is awesome. Then having Metalcraft, I can equip for free. So I decided to pants up my germ and attack with a 1/3 flying germ, which he chump blocks with Birds of Paradise because he figures he's going to lose that anyway, but that gives me an extra counter on my Jite. So with 2 counters on a Jite, spend 1 to kill Lotus Cobra, and because I figured that's the most explosive card that he has right now, and then I re-equip because it's free, so you might as well have a few little bit better defenders. My opponent draws a card off Gitrog Monster and gets this Titania on the board, which is, I just know is going to be really problematic just based on all the stuff he already showed me. We had a Crystal Vein in hand. Cycles Ash Barrens, so gets an Elemental from Titania and also draws a card and a land. He plays the basic land, he got off Ash Barrens, and decides to sacrifice a clue to draw a card, additional card. Alright, and then he really starts to go off here with Polluted Delta, which not only gives him 2 landfall triggers off Tireless Tracker, but an extra elemental off Titania. But he decides to Cabal Pit my Sram, but I have 1 final counter on the Jite to pump its power up +2/+2 to survive that. All right, my turn. I have just a ton of options here. Kind of thinking, how do I kill him fast before his army of elementals just completely destroys me? I have the Helm of Awakening, which makes all spells cost 1 generic mana less to play, which means Bone Splitter is straight up free, as is Ghostfire Blade. I'm drawing 2 cards on each of these, which is insane. And Masterwork of Ingenuity, which is really great. There we go. I was going to copy the Bone Splitter there with the Masterwork of Ingenuity. You can see it makes a copy of any equipment on the battlefield. But there was a glitch in X-Mage, and it's just kind of like a blank equipment right now. So I'm kind of puzzled by that in the moment. But I still have the Paladin in play, which means all my stuff's free to equip. So I basically want to just load up one big thing, because I have Nura Cover Sail, give it flying, and that way I can get in a clean hit, get 2 more counters in the Jite, and threaten lethal the following turn. So I decided to put everything on Pure Steel Paladin, except for the Flare Husk, because I want to save that germ to chump block. So I attack with a 6/6 flyer, and he goes to 10. I get 2 counters in the Jite. I have 3 mana, and everything costs 1 cheaper, remember. So I play Hushwing Gryff for 2 mana, and I play a Hyena Umbra on the Gryff for 1 mana and draw another card. And the reason I put the Umbra on the Hushwing Gryff was to have a 3-power First Striker to threaten to take down any of his Elementals or Titania, or Tireless Tracker, I guess. Then I spend some time re-equipping post-combat, so I have even better equipped blockers for the inevitable swing on his turn. Okay, my opponent sacks a land and upkeep, draws a card, and gets an elemental. So I apologize, you can't really see all of his lands in one screenshot there. But he's got, 8 clues at this point, and the Pernicious Deed. 1 card that could really mess me up here comes out, and he activates the Deed for 2, so kills everything of mine except Hushwing Gryff. And there's not really much I can do here. In response, I just gain 4 life off the Jite and give Hushwing Gryff protection from black with Mother of Runes. I decided between green and black. I should have picked green, but I was scared about a removal spell, so I put picked black. Doesn't matter too much here, as he doesn't even attack with Gitrog. It's all about the same. All right, I'm back to square one on my turn and facing down 16 power worth of opposition. Still have a lot of options though, as I drew so many cards the previous few turns with Sram and Pure Soul Paladin. But I decided to play Foundry Inspector here because having 3 power means it can trade with Titania or any of the Elementals or Tireless Tracker. And I also want to get out Smuggler's Copter, so I figure it'd be better to play the Inspector first to make the Copter one cheaper. Then I can play Benevolent Bodyguard and still keep a white open for Brave the Elements if I need to. I crack him down to 8. On upkeep, he gets another card, another Elemental, another Clue. So he's just doing what Gitrog does now, just cycling, playing lands, playing more lands, playing lands from his graveyard, making Elementals. And he's scared enough of my 3 power guys not to attack with the Tracker or Titania, so he just hits in with Gitrog. Luckily, I get a little bit of reprieve there, so my plan works. And I am in the critical turn here before I get completely overrun. I draw a Sigil of Distinction, which is X cost equipment that gives the creature +X, but you have to remove a counter from it to equip. So with Foundry Inspector, I can say X equals 7 for actually just 6 mana. Then I have an 8 power Hushwing Gryff, which is enough to kill him dead. So lucked out. Lucky top deck at the end of game 1 there. Really quite a nail biter. So on to game 2. I do not see any white mana in my opening hand, even though it's a pretty good hand. And I decided to keep a Plains on top when I scry for my second hand. Didn't have a white mana in that hand either, but I didn't want to go to 5, so decided that would be still better. My opponent goes Depletion Land into Nature's Lore to search for a forest, and since he still has a black mana floating, he can just cast Regrowth right away. On my turn, I draw Mox Opal, and I could play Sram and say go, but I like playing Sram and at least drawing 1 card in the same turn. So for that reason, I play Port and Port his Bayou on his turn to kind of force him to use up his Peat Bog partially. But then he still has, with that Lotus, that dang Lotus Cobra, he still has enough to cast Oracle of Moldiah and flips a Dryad Arbor with a Demonic Tutor on top. So I thought I had a good start, but nothing close to his, even with him sacrificing his own land. Here I play my commander, and luckily draw some 0-cost things, including Horror Shield and Mox Opal. So I have an extra mana this turn. I play Hyena Umbra to draw a card and Totem Armor up my SRAM. Opponent gets 2 free lands into play with Oracle, and has, I don't even know what turn this is, like 3. He already has like 6 lands and 7 lands in play. Gitrog Monster. Yeah, this is crazy. Demonic Tutors, and I am very scared. So he tutors for something, but doesn't actually cast it that turn. I drop Plains. So my thought here is I need to cast some sort of interaction on his turn. I have Oppressive Rays from last turn. A nice little card, kind of like a rest that costs 2 cheaper, but they can pay 3 to ignore it on their turn. But I think things are dire enough that I won't need to use Parallax Wave to take out at least 2 or 3 of his creatures here. But since I have a spare mana, I start with the 1-drop equipment just to see what I draw. So important thing to do when you're playing SRAM is keep your options open and don't play lands before you have to, because you might draw into some other lands or some other cards you might want to play. So I end up playing Parallax Wave, take Gitrog. He does not put it in the command zone, so it's just under the Parallax Wave, which I kind of like, actually. Swing with SRAM, see if he'll block. Maybe he forgot has First Strike or something. And then I take Oracle of Moldiah, and I figure I'm going to leave the Lotus Cobra because he already has so much mana that there's really not anything he can't play. But he has a dirty deed again. And he having 4 mana means that he could play the deed, crack it for 4, and then I would lose my Parallax Wave, and he'd get his Gitrog Monster right away. So in response to Pernicious Deed, I wave away his Dryad Arbor, so he would only have 3 mana there. Kind of strands some mana in play for him. My opponent gets to see my hand with Duress and takes takes a 1-drop card. I draw Bloodforged Battle Axe, which is a new one from Commander 2017. Kind of like a Trusty Machete, but makes copies of itself, which is really nice. I don't want to play it into the Pernicious Deed, though, so I figure I'm just going to pants up my Sram this turn with a bunch of equipment. Put them down to like single-digit life totals, and then next turn I can start to rebuild my board after the deed goes off. So I attack here, and my opponent decides to crack the deed, which makes me realize I didn't quite think he would do that, so I should have played my Maelstrom, use my Mox Opal for mana. But I do have Port open here, so I can port his Bayou and constrain him a little bit on mana. He draws a Maelstrom Pulse, which I assume he's going to take out the wave, but I guess it makes more sense. The wave's only going to be around, stick around for 1 more turn, so he takes my commander and then plays Bojuka Bog to nuke my graveyard. All right, Parallax Waves on 0 counters, so I am faced with 3 of his creatures coming out next turn, but nothing I can really do to stop that, so I just replay my commander, play Bloodforged Battle Axe, and equip. My opponent just says draw go, and then on my turn, he gets his creatures back because the wave goes away. All right, now I'm facing down a fearsome board, although he only has 1 card in his hand, so that's the one thing I have going for me right now. I decided to Oppressive Raise his Gitrog Monster, because if I could have Consul's Judgment did it, but he has so much mana that he can just recast it again, because he only casted it once from the command zone, that I figure my better option is to use Consul's Judgment on Oracle of Moldiah, but I don't want to necessarily reveal to him that I have that yet. So I play Armory Automaton, which is an interesting card. It basically can put all equipment into play attached to it whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks. But in response, my opponent uses Cabal Pit on Sram, which I forgot about, to be honest. Sram dies, the Automaton gets to pick up the Battle Axe for free, and then I have enough mana left over to cast Consul's Judgment on Oracle of Moldiah, to which he responds by Dust Bowling his own land, I guess. And then he plays cycles Ash Barrens. So right now I'm thinking he went up from like 0 cards to 4 on my turn with the Gitrog Monster. Still has Gitrog in play, drawing just a ton of cards. He Inquisitions me, doesn't see anything. There's just a flurry of activity here. Wasteland gets my Core Haven, plays Remnant Excavator, which is a real annoyance with Wasteland. But he already played 2 lands this turn, so he can't get another one of my lands. He says go. Luckily, Gitrog Monster can't block right now. So I attack for 4. He can either trade with Remnant or take the 4. He decides to take the 4. So I get a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe, and luckily I have this Etch Champion, which is just a complete all-star in this deck. It's so good. So I play out the Etch Champion, equip the copied Bloodforged Battle Axe. My opponent continues to go off, although I can tap down his Dryad Arbor with Rishadan Port, which I figure is better since it's chump blocker. Now I'm really scared because he goes Dark Petition. So he's got 3 black mana floating because he has a fully stocked graveyard. Yep, the classic Dark Petition into Toxic Deluge wipes my board, and I'm left with nothing but a pair of Bloodforged Battle Axes, while he has Wasteland plus Crucible, essentially. in play. So the window is rapidly closing, but I got him down to 4. So if I can just survive one more turn, I can finish him off because I got my commander plus put a Griff's Boon on it to make it a 3/2 flyer. Sadly, my opponent goes Azusa Lost but Seeking into Glacial Chasm, which prevents me from being able to win with damage. So my opponent plays the Chasm, plays Wasteland, gets my last land, and then Abrupt decays my commander, at which point I can't recast my commander, so I just pack it in. Between not being able to play Sram, having no cards in hand, and he has Wasteland, repeatable Wasteland in play, I decide to mulligan. I had to mulligan again, but this hand I keep and kind of greedily scry Plains to the bottom, because I figure I have my 2 lands to play Sram, 2 cheap equipment, so I can probably draw into another land, and I don't want to get flooded with this deck. Not to say that this is a bad deck to get flooded with necessarily, because you have so much opportunity to spend mana on the equipping cards, but still would rather not. But draw Helm of Awakening, which is kind of nice. And then I play my 2 Cheerio cards, Bone Sun, Paradise Mantle. Draw 2 more cards. And my opponent just plays Expedition Map and Myriad Landscape. Still not seeing a land I really want to play. I have Kajella or an Outpost that requires me to sacrifice a Plains. But I do have Helm of Awakening plus 1-drop equipments, which is awesome. This time the Masterwork works properly, and I get a copy of Bone Splitter, which is really nice. Decided to play out my Outpost because I have no other chance to draw a regular land. Then I get to equip Paradise Mantle on Sram and use Sram to cast Core Duelist to just get the most things out on the board that I possibly can in a single turn. So next turn I'm setting up for a really huge swing of the Duelist, which, if you don't know, 1 white mana for a 1/1 that has double strike as long as it's equipped. My opponent has a Wasteland for my Outpost, which is really brutal, but he doesn't really do a whole lot beside it. Just cracks the Myriad Landscape and says go. Still don't draw a land, sadly, but I still have plenty of things I can do. It's just a matter of, do I want to equip the Core Duelist and get in some guaranteed damage this turn? I could double equip Bone Splitter to knock him down to 10, or I could just cast Etch Champion and continue to build to my board, and I decide that's going to be a little bit better in the long run. The Etch Champion, that is. But my opponent now can cast the Gitrog Monster, which is really scary. Also has Expedition Map, which is really scary as well, given what these decks are capable of. Okay, my opponent casts Duress and takes the Apostle's Blessing, leaving me with just Brave the Elements and Monastery Mentor. I draw Sigil of Distinction, which I just cast for 0 just to draw a card. Luckily, I hit my land drop, which is great. So now I have the choice of equipping up either the Core Duelist or the Etch Champion. It's my best options, because the window for doing that is closing rapidly. So I equip the 2 Bone Splitters and the Bone Saw for a really bony Core Duelist, and it's a 6/1 double strike. So if you block with Gitrog, he would lose his creature and I would keep mine. So I try to pressure him that way. My opponent's forced to Maelstrom Pulse my Core Duelist, which I like. It's a good mana advantage for me, and he drops the Liliana and makes me sacrifice a creature, so I lose Sram, but he did most of his work already. I was going to win next turn for sure, but he drops the Glacial Chasm, so now I'm kind of scratching my head here, because that card is impossible for me to beat if they can keep it in play. So I'm hoping he has to pay cumulative upkeep on that enough times to where he loses, but since I can't attack, I just equip Paradise Mantle on the champion and then play Monastery Mentor. Alright, my opponent has yet another tutor. He goes land into Dark Petition, and this is very scary. Don't quite know what he gets, but shocker, maybe his, I would guess, Pernicious Deed. However, he doesn't have the right mana floating to play that right off the bat. He would prefer to go Realms Uncharted, so he gives me a chance of which lands to put in his graveyard. I definitely don't want to give him Maze of Ith, and he has the Dark Depths combo is there as well there. So that's able to be assembled at some point. But I really don't want to give him Maze of Ith because that really prevents me from winning. He did sacrifice his Glacial Chasm though on upkeep, rather than play a cumulative upkeep though, so that gives me a window here to win the game, and he actually taps out. So with him at 6 and my Etched Champion being able to be equipped with 2+2 power equipments, I have just enough damage to bring him to 0, and the deed, I avoid the Pernicious Deed at the very end. So really quite a nail biter. I think if I didn't win that turn, I was going to lose that game almost assuredly. So really close 3-game match, and Sramos pulls it out against the Gitrog Monster. Thanks for watching, and see you later. Hey everyone, Tyler from Duelcaster here. If you enjoyed the video you just watched and all the creative content we produce here, we'd be thrilled if you could share your support by liking this video, commenting on it, subscribing to our channel, and contributing to our Patreon. Just click on the links to the side here to help out. We want to take Duel Commander and all 1v1 Commander formats to the next level, and your support helps us keep producing awesome content. Thanks for watching, and see you later.